stranded in space on a ship crashing into the atmosphere of an unknown planet, Emile Spencer knew that the only way to survive would be by his own wits and guile. He vowed that somehow he would find and slay the titanic cosmic beast that put him in this predicament, VY572. With every installment, we follow Emile's explorations and discoveries on this journey of revenge against all odds. I'm Midnight Jester, and this is the Left Behind Starforge series.
The last episode of Left Behind started off with Emile in his room doing some research. He had been tasked with what seemed like an impossible task, which was to retrieve a chaos crystal from outside buried in a heap of ash, with no ability to actually contain it. At least not at this moment. No materials that were used to contain its chaos, no particular techniques to do so. And with it being an extremely volatile material that would shape reality itself, that wasn't good enough. So he poured through lots of scientific research about the material, and was able to find something on the fringe that indicated that if you were able to get 2 chaos crystals in just the right kind of configuration, they would actually nullify each other and render them safe. They would no longer have any kind of impact on reality. So the research suggested. Emile filed this away as a possibility and knew that in order to make this happen, he needed to retrieve something that he could use to make very specific magnetic fields. And that led him to the junk pit. When he was there, he had quite a long and threatening conversation with a figure known as the Magpie. Magpie really wanted in on Emile's engineering operation. We got the sense very quickly that Magpie was looking to make some political moves and gains on their own position in this organization, and something as large as Emile's project was the way to do that. He tried to intimidate Emile into being in a position of great power in this project, basically overseeing the entire thing and getting a massive amount of credit for it. And Emile didn't see any reason to give that kind of power away, and his leverage on Emile was basically that Emile doesn't have any allies around here, and that he could very easily shift public opinion about Emile to see him as somebody who was a political threat to Valkyrie, basically projecting onto Emile. Emile, to his credit, did not buy into that. He didn't back down. He intimidated right back successfully, more or less saying, try it. If you think that's a good idea, try it. But only if you think that people really have such a high opinion of you and that it can't be turned right back around on you. And it worked. So Emile got to work sifting through the junk pile, finding some old broken skiffs that had the sort of magnetic levitation he was looking for. He found the parts he needed. Unfortunately, in that process of trying to retrieve them with Fern's help, the stack shifted due to Fern's just over-influence on everything, magnetizing too much. It collapsed on Emile and injured him quite a bit. And the end of the session was all about Emile finally being able to escape that pile again with Fern's help, and had a bit of a stare down with Magpie, who had, during this time, tried to seize on the opportunity to just crush Emile. Since there was recorded evidence of the stack coming down due to Fern's influence, Magpie thought that he could just use that opportunity to take the claw that is meant to carry things in and out of the pile, move stuff around, take that and just shove down on the pile to crush Emile, being able to prove that, hey, Emile just died due to the stack falling, by only showing the first little bit of the video clip. Emile did escape, and they stared each other down, taking the measure of each other and recognizing that he's dealing with an amoral opportunist. And while he might not be going through with his plan to just take down Emile in the public eye, he will seize on opportunities just laid on his doorstep like that. But it's time for us to pick back up. I'm not going to be doing a vignette this time. We're going to get right back into the action. And we have 8 momentum anyway, so there's only so much we would really benefit from getting a vignette done anyway. Our biggest problem at the moment is that Emile got full-on wounded from that stack shifting. It did a massive amount of damage. And I think before he does anything else, before he even actually salvages the materials he found, he's going to have to get that taken care of. Now, I don't think Emile trusts that if he leaves the junk pile that he'll be able to find the goods he found all over again easily. Like, that's... Magpie very well might change it up, or other people might use it. He needs to find some way to actually... Like, he doesn't want to walk away as is without, like, saving the location somehow. And I think the way he does that is just very easily. You know, we just saw the operation of the claw. Perhaps Emile wasn't even familiar at first with the idea that such a claw did exist, which is why he was trying to get things out more manually. Maybe it was that, but he's going to use it now. I'm not interested in making a roll out of this. I think Emile's going to kind of hobble over to the controls, and Magpie is going to stand back. He's made his point. He may even leave the room entirely at this point, perhaps having other obligations or something like that. But this part I don't want to be a roll. Emile just will indeed use these controls, claw machine out the part that he was looking for, the old broken piece of skiff, get it out of the pile, and set it aside in just like the side of the room. He'll still have to actually move it to where he wants to work on it later, but at least here it is. And with that taken care of, he and Fern are going to head over to the fixery. I believe that's what we called that's right, the fixery is the workshop. The trenches is what I'm talking about. Emile needs to get patched up. I think there's a moment where, up until this point, Fern had been riding inside Emile's body. And I think a wounded Emile is just not in the right position to want to just have the kind of body trauma of Fern going back inside again. So I think nervous as Fern is to just be wandering around out in the open, especially having been hidden this whole time, there's this understanding between the two of them that it's the way it's going to have to be. Emile recognizes that's uncomfortable for Fern. Fern recognizes this is not the time to press that point. And so the two of them go together. Fern, kind of supporting Emile to the best of his ability. Maybe Fern is doing a low-level magnetism effect the whole time in a repulsion kind of way. Just enough to kind of let Emile sort of almost use Fern as a crutch. He's leaning in that direction. And because Emile has certainly got some magnetic material on his body, he's leaning and then using his computerized glove, since his computer right now is broken anyway. And it's being repelled just enough to... It's like he's using a crutch, as I said. So the two of them work together, and they slowly move on over to... Which is about the only speed Fern can go anyway. They move on over to the trenches. Now, we've not seen them in play yet. We came up with them during the GM session, and... one of the things that we came up with was a particular person who has been locked out of them because it was determined that their usage of the place was wasting too much material by everybody else's perspective. So I think as a result of that, I don't think it's just some place that you can just walk into. I think they keep it locked down. And so the way I want to envision this is I think the door itself has a little computer terminal sort of thing where you can type in some information. You can log into a system basically that it can verify that you have access before it'll just automatically open up the door. Emile doesn't know to expect any of this, so he goes up there and finds oh wait, I can't just I can't just go in there. I need to heal myself, but what the hell is this? And he tries typing in his name to it. It's not like you have a username or something. It's just you type in your name, and so he types in Emile Spencer. And I think because he's not been living here all that long, it's just never been set up for him. It's just, user not found, something like that. And I think at that moment, there is a, not AI in the sense of tetrahedron, but more in the sense of a chatbot kind of helper, like we would have today. Some automated system that starts talking with him and is kind of hey, new user detected. Are you looking to set up an account? Things like that. And Emile is not in the mood for it exactly, but certainly Emile feels about the way that anybody feels when they interact with a phone system. That's for orders, press 1. He's just it's all of that same frustration of trying to work through a menu system and get this going when he just wants to solve a problem. And cutting ahead a little bit through this it's not he sets up a profile for himself and keeps telling it to skip things that won't matter. And what he finds is that it still won't let him in, even now that he has a profile. It's doing the equivalent of we need you to link this to a credit card because you're going to be charged for what you use, the supplies you use in there. The idea is that they're so low on these kinds of supplies that they can't just have it be open access anymore. So everybody has to pay for them. And Emile's what the hell? How do I get credit? And he's, again, I don't think this is worthy of an actual role. He's proficient enough with technology that he'd definitely be able to do this. And so basically he goes back and forth with the bot on trying to dig into how does one get credits? And the short answer is they have a kind of system whereby, like, when you do your job for the Vault Hunters, like to help get this place established, some amount of credits are put into an account which you can use for various types of extra things. Like, everybody has access to food and like the bare basics, but if you need things that are considered extra, and in this case, unfortunately, due to their scarcity, medical supplies are considered extra, you need to have done enough good for the society in order to have access to them. And Emile hasn't been set up with any of this, and so he's frustratedly trying to communicate to the bot how, like, he's doing a grand project for the whole society, but it keeps just kind of telling him how there's nothing detected in his account, and he's clearly going in circles and not able to get in. So, if he wants in here, he could certainly try and hack his way in and try and just artificially give himself credits. It probably wouldn't be that hard for him. Of course, if he gets caught, that could be an issue. And you know what? I think right now Emile is pissed off enough because, he's injured, he's hurt, he's in a foul mood from it all, and is getting sick of everybody telling him no. He's trying to access the workshop and he has to do all this bullshit to get in. He's trying just to get things from the communal junk pit and somebody tries to kill him. Like, for all of this place making peace with him, he's not feeling that a lot right now. And so he's in a very fuck it mood and decides, I don't have time for this shit, and he's going to hack his way in. And as long as he's doing that, he might as well set himself up with credits commensurate to what he feels he's doing, which is to say, a lot. He's taking on a huge project for them, and is including the fact that he brought back a better power core than he thinks he's earned a lot in the way of credits and goodwill. So anyway, we're definitely going to be able to use our tech asset here, as we're literally hacking into an electronic system. So we're going to get to add +1 to our face danger roll, and as usual, we'll be able to re-roll dice on a weak hit. I don't think there's any advantage he'd be securing first. I think he's just going straight into this. He doesn't really have time for... He's not going to develop a computer program for it. This is a simple thing. So let's just face danger with wits with a +1. And we got 8 momentum. So let's see. Oh yeah, nothing to it. We start off strong hit with a match. Now I have some bad news. For a little while, we had our strong hit with a match going. We did a double 1, double 2, double 3 was where we left off. This one, we skipped a number. It's a double 5. Still though, double 5 match means, like, this is a pretty good match. We should definitely get something pretty good out of this. Importantly, we're successful. We take 1 momentum, so we're maxed out at 9 at the moment. Emile is absolutely going to hack a backdoor into this system. He'll easily be able to access both this terminal and just, like, their network at large. I think that's going to be part of the match. I want it to be a little bit better than that. I want him to, like, maybe learn something specific as a result. We'll get to that in a moment. He certainly also sets himself up with a functionally unlimited amount of credits. It's like, he tries to make the number not suspiciously high, because he can now see in the system, like, what do things cost? So he can get an idea of, like, what's an appropriate amount. He can also see the tabs that other users have. He sees the other account balances. Oh, he could drain somebody else. He could really fuck somebody over. Like, he could certainly fuck over Magpie if he were so inclined. And the question is he feeling that jaded right now? I need to think on that. He might. So he sets an appropriate level, but probably can also have it so that, like, because he has this back door, he could easily replenish it at any given moment if he wanted to. So it's functionally unlimited, but it doesn't look that way for now. Okay, so let's think on this match. I think given the scope of what he's able to accomplish, just draining somebody else's account isn't double 5 and worthy, but it's close. That's certainly something. I think what I'd rather do is, because he has access to all these accounts, I'm going to give him the benefit of, like, a gather information, like finding out more about anybody in particular he wants to look into. And, like, he could do some modification if he wants. Rather than overthink this, let's use this opportunity to try and fuck over Magpie. So I think right away, he's going to drain the account balance. Magpie will not be able to do anything that is... Oh, he'll drain the balance, and he's going to lock it out. He's going to set it up so that it's locked, and only Emile immediately knows how to unlock that. Or I guess anybody else who's an admin could do it. Emile has admin access at the moment. It would take... Like, this is basically a stalling thing. Magpie will be able to get it resolved once somebody determines, like, yeah, that shouldn't have happened. But it's going to mean Magpie is going to have to notice first, and then go up some kind of chain of whoever's in charge to eventually get it taken care of. And that's just going to... It's going to waste their time. And I think at the moment that just feels good. So, now having credits, Emile gets back into the, like, home screen and logs back in and types his name in, and lo and behold, yes, now he can. Now, oh, another thing that he might have been able to do on that match is like delete the logs that showed that he tried to log in first without any money, just to call less attention to it. But now he can get in. He goes inside the trenches, and it's sparse. It's kind of creepy in here with the with the old dissected pieces of the like flying snake creature. There's not a lot that you could use, but Emile does just have he needs some painkillers, and he needs to help stabilize, like a wrap to help stabilize his broken ribs and everything. And I think I'm going to allow myself to make just a heal move in here. And based on the results of that, that'll determine what was available and how much is left and all of that. So we are mending our own wounds, which means we got to use iron. Emile is in pain this whole time as he can barely breathe all that well. He has to take these very shallow breaths. I'm glad we have 9 momentum, but here we go. Lowest of iron or wits, and we get... Okay. This is a miss that I could burn for a weak hit, because unfortunately the higher die was a 9. And you know what? God. I really would like to not just be wounded this whole time. I could use taking the health back. I think I am going to burn it all for that weak hit. So we do that, which means we're going to get to clear the fact that we're wounded. We get that patched up, and we get to have 2 health, which is certainly something. So we either have to lose momentum or sacrifice resources. Now, if I sacrificed resources, that would bring supply all the way down to 0, because I have to sacrifice 2. I think this place is sparse, but it's not that sparse. What Emile was looking for was only, some painkillers and, some to keep him going, and a good kind of bracing. I don't know that I want this place to just be out like that, but I don't think that Emile is that well. He's still going to be moving pretty slowly and everything. So I'm going to sacrifice the momentum. So we would have reset to 2, and then I'm going to go down to momentum of 0, because I think Emile, just in general, he's going to be moving around a bit slower. He's stiff and in pain, and the types of painkillers he's on, to ignore that, maybe he's a little bit loopy. He's not at his best. He's not thinking as clearly. Some of his words are a little slurrier. This is some heavy stuff that he's on to ignore the ribs. But he does take care of that, and now he's determined to get started on his real plan here, which was, okay, we need to construct this device so that we can maybe stabilize another crystal. There's a lot of steps left. So Emile, he wants to be able to work on this thing, but he doesn't want to do it in the junk pile. Doesn't want Magpie to potentially be around like that. So I think he's going to have to ask for some help, and his mind would be going towards the strongest person he knows nearby that could help him move this thing. And I'm talking about Vert. We haven't talked to him in a little while. I'm going to skip ahead to Emile just being at his quarters, knocking on the door, and just having a request of him. I want to determine what would Vert be doing on any given day? What kind of jobs would he be doing? Yes, he's around in case they need combat needs and stuff, but they don't right now. So how would he be helping out on a day-to-day basis? Because I think he'd still be occupying his time doing things. I'm going to roll a character roll to see what's he filling in for right now. Bounty hunter. I don't feel like there would be... I mean, there are hundreds of people here. We could interpret that less literally. He's not literally hunting bounties on people, but he's a physically imposing dude, and maybe that's more in the sense of an enforcer for when people aren't doing their job, they need Vert to go in to be hey, no freeloaders. Or I suppose it could be that maybe some people for certain types of things actually can fall into a negative credit balance. Because we have this whole credit system now. Maybe Vert is the one who has to come after people when they owe. Which is functionally the same thing, because as we've said, you earn credits by doing good things for the society. And so yeah, when people have been taking and not giving back, and they've been running a negative balance for long enough, Vert is the guy who comes to talk some sense into them. Now, I don't think he's doing it full mob style. He's not I'm gonna break your legs, because that doesn't serve the community any. But he does have a talking with them, and for the sake of it, it's not going to make a huge difference, but I kind of want to see, is he on the clock right now or not? Like, are we going to be talking to him while he's in the middle of like a bust type of thing? 50-50. Is Vert working right now? No. Okay, so he's just in his quarters. It's fine. Emile comes to talk to him, and the door opens up, and Vert is just like, "The hell happened to you? You been starting trouble again?"
Not exactly. At least I'm not trying to, but trouble seems to be finding me.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? What happened?
It's nothing you need to worry about. Well, not directly. Had a little bit of an accident trying to fetch some parts to... It's a long story. I need to make a device, and I was fetching something from the junk pile. Stack shifted, and
Vert is like looking him up and down because, as we recall, Vert was like, when Vert had his holodeck time, he was trying to learn medicine. And so I think Vert would be, given that we only got a weak hit, I think Vert would like take a moment to criticize a little bit about how Emile like really didn't stabilize it quite right. He'd like make some adjustments to like, it's like, yeah, that's broken ribs.
Yeah, that's the impression I got.
He like gives it a quick little tug and like cinches it up more, and he's like, "You're not going to be stabilizing shit like that. You need it a lot tighter," and just cinch it up more. And Emile is just like gritting his teeth like, "Fuck. You'll thank me when they grow back correctly."
Yeah, I'm sure I will. Anyway, if you're not doing anything, I was wondering if maybe I could ask for some help. The part I'm trying to find there is pretty damn big, and I can't get it back to my room all on my own. We're talking vehicle parts here.
Why don't you just work on it there then? I mean, what the fuck do you need me for?
Magpie and I haven't exactly been getting along well. He's given me the creeps. I'd rather not do it where it's, his domain. So, would you be willing to help me move? As you can see, I'm not really in any shape to be handling it myself.
So let's just do a quick compel roll here. Can we persuade Vert to help us carry this very heavy object with the benefit of his power armor, which definitely has some strength enhancement to it? This is just a heart roll. We don't have any momentum to rely on. And let's see how it goes. Ooh, strong hit with a match, double 6. So we skipped 4, but we're continuing our moving up the ranks. Wow, double 6 strong hit. Clearly he's taken some pity and recognizing like, maybe it's almost that like bigger brother syndrome where it's like nobody picks on my little brother but me kind of thing. I think that Vert recognizes that Emile isn't making a big deal out of it, but that something bigger happened with Emile and Magpie, and Vert wants to be there to be the enforcer, right? Like, he's trying to be a defender. That's his main job. He's off the clock right now, but I think he's looking to get back on duty. So he's going to help. And the strong hit with a match is, I think when they get there, Emile's not even going to ask him to. He doesn't know this is coming, but Vert is reading between the lines here. And I think he is going to talk some sense into Magpie, and that may indeed get more physical. So I don't think he's bringing his like big ass gun, but he's probably got like a sidearm or something. And he's definitely going in the armor because he knows that he needs to carry this heavy thing. I think Vert kind of plays it off a little bit like it's more of an inconvenience, even though at this point, like, he wants to do it, but he's just like, all right, well, you'll owe me, but I'll help you out. And he's unspecific about like what Emile is going to owe him, anything like that. And so mechanically, like, we don't owe him anything, but he comes along. So back to the junk pile, Emile and Vert are there. And I guess the question is Magpie still there? Because if he is, the whole like talking sense into him is going to happen in front of Emile. If he's not, Vert's going to find him and talk to him on his own. One way or another, it's going to happen. It's just, what does it happen on screen right now? It's still a place that he frequents, so I'm going to put it at likely. But is Magpie still there? No, I actually rolled a 100 on that. So no matter how certain it would have been, Magpie fucked off. So yeah, Magpie is not there. That whole thing that happens with the match, that's going to happen maybe off screen, but definitely later. So let's see. With Vert's help, do we need to make a roll out of this? No, with Vert and honestly Fern's help as well, I think between the two of them, there's no real need to make this into an actual roll. I think that's it's too much of a foregone conclusion, and I don't have an interesting idea of like, it's not like I want to be like, and then it drops along the way or something like that's boring. Let's just get to the real meat of it. I think that they get it back to Emile's room, or, well, I don't know that his room has a doorway big enough to get this inside. So let's figure out, where would Emile be taking this to be able to work on? He doesn't have a full-on workshop, but maybe he just gets a corner of the... Why don't we just have him park, like, basically outside the fixery, just up against the wall? Like, he's not inside of it, but if Firestarter goes in and out, he's just going to be seeing Emile working on this, like, just sitting on the ground outside, like, doing what he can. But at least there's enough space in the hangar for it, so, like, he can do that. I think Vert's going to go take care of some business, and Emile... I'm going to have him secure an advantage here, because I want to see if Emile can figure out what Vert is up to. Just based on, like, Vert's not a very good liar, and his body language and everything. Like, can Emile tell that Vert is about to go talk to Magpie based on all of how he behaved inside the junk pile and everything? Like, can he pick up on how Vert was clearly, like, looking around for him and stuff, and put that all together to recognize that maybe he can influence what's about to happen? So I'm going to secure an advantage. And this is going to be with wits, to just see, like, can Emile, is he up on things? We get a weak hit. So we succeed, we can either have the 2 momentum or a 1 on our next move. I feel like this is just momentum helping. It's not really helping us with a particular... Well, okay, I guess if Emile's going to try and compel Vert to do something in particular, that would be a +1 on the next move. I've changed my mind. Let's go for that. I think that makes more sense with what this is about. So Emile recognizes, like, Vert is now going to find Magpie and change his mind about how his interactions with Emile. What would Emile like to try and convince Vert to do? I don't think it would be as strong as, like, put him out of his misery, like, just kill the bastard. Like, he tried to kill me, you should just kill him. I don't think it's going to be that hard. Like, I think he'd have a hard time convincing Vert to take it that far, but... Oh, but Emile just locked him out. He doesn't have any credits to heal himself in the infirmary. I think Emile's going to try and convince him, like, be physical enough to, like... Okay, so let me just roleplay this out. Vert is saying his goodbyes and making it clear, like, he's got to go take care of some business. Emile knows he's not on the clock, and he puts it together and recognizes, like, he's going to talk to Magpie. And so Emile just says to him, Vert? Yeah? And Emile gestures to, like, the bracing around his ribs and says, he left me needing to recover. I feel like if all things are fair, he should have the same treatment. Emile basically saying, like, don't just intimidate him. Like, give him something to have to recover from. Beat him up. And we're going to see if Vert is willing to do that. This is definitely worthy of a compel roll. Because I think generally Vert doesn't want to think of himself that way as, like, just the big tough guy who's there to fuck people up. You know, he's trying to move past that life and help people. So let's see. Is Vert willing to go through with that? We are, even though this is a move about fucking somebody up, as far as our relationship with Vert, this is still a heart roll. You know, we're trying to encourage him to do something. We're not threatening Vert. We're not lying to him or anything. At best, you know, technically Emile got hurt not because of Magpie, but Magpie did try and make it worse. So, like, it's if anything, Emile is leaving out what would be even worse. So, it's going to be a heart move with a +1. And let's see how it goes. Holy shit. This is a miss with a double 10 match. We have rocketed up the scale, and importantly, it's not a strong hit. Okay, double 10 match. Clearly, Emile has read this wrong. Like, he's correct about what Vert is going to do, but I think it's one of those things where by saying it out loud, he makes Vert recognize that that's how Emile sees him. Like, he makes Vert, like, look at himself. Vert looks in the mirror, basically, and sees, like, hey, if you don't want to be this person, you sure are being that person. Like, by just going off and, like, using your might to be physically imposing and threaten people, that's the life you're trying to leave behind. Whether you actually hurt him or not, you're leaning into it. And I think in this moment, Vert gets, like, literally, like, violently angry at being forced to look at himself that way. and there's nobody else around right now except Fern. And so like he stops in his tracks, his back is turned towards Emile, and this grumbling sound of, "Is that what you think I'm here to do? That I'm just some big tough asshole here to fight your battles for you, Spencer?" His back is still turned this whole time, and Emile's like, I mean, that's... You call on me when you need something heavy lifted. Ask me to hurt people. Well, if that's all you see me as, that's what you're gonna get. Maybe I'm just some big dumb animal who's just here to be violent. And the double 10 match is with full benefit of power armor and everything. I think he is going to punch Emile like right in the braced broken ribs, slamming him into the wall, dealing with double 10 match like in an already wounded area. I think this is worthy of 3 harm as well. Like just supernaturally strong in an already weak point because of the benefit of the power armor. He is just going to take Emile by surprise. Like Emile kind of moves up to be like, "Hey, no," he like stands up. I didn't mean it like that. And just with such incredible, unpredictable rapidity, turns around with this massive punch right in his broken ribs and slams him into the wall, probably re-breaking them. We're going to see how the health roll goes and everything, but we're going to do 3 harm right here, bringing our health of 2 back down to 0 and losing momentum. So we're down to 0 on that as well. And then we have to make our suffer move. So things almost like go into slow motion with the intense agony that Emile feels at this moment, being crushed up against the wall by this fist. And let's see what happens. We roll with a +1, and we get... Okay, we did get a weak hit, but and we're not actually wounded yet. So I could lose momentum in exchange for 1 health, or just press on. That would bring me into the negative of momentum, but I would at least have health. Whew, do I want to do that? I think I do. Partly, again, because of the narrative of it. I think that, like, that is such a blow that it's gonna, like, our momentum is down now. It doesn't completely shatter the ribs again. Like, maybe it's done in not quite that exact weak of a spot, but, like, maybe Vert placed it just so it's mostly in just, like, the stomach, but does get a little bit of the ribs, and, like, it hurts massively. But Emile does still have the 1 health, but he is going to be moving so much slower, and he's so out of it now. Like, he's just in a massive amount of pain right now. He's just, like, writhing on the ground for the moment, and Vert just, like, spits on the ground and just says, "Don't come asking for any more favors," and walks away. Definitely not how I thought that was going to go. Really thought we could maybe have something there, but you know, that's what you get when you do something that shitty. And when the dice say that's what's happening, yeah, he's definitely undone a lot of goodwill that he's built up over time with him and Vert. Vert is like way back at the beginning now of like, I knew he was a piece of shit. I should have never let myself forget that. And so it's back to, and so Emile eventually recovers, and he does have the gear here to work on, and he's feeling really bad about pushing it that way. He knew he didn't have to, especially recognizing that, like, if he had said nothing, things would have been better for him. But he had to run his mouth. He had to think that he knew what was going on, and now Magpie's not even going to get a talking to. Because I think the double 10 match is so much that it's going to undo the strong hit with a match that we had. Not the other part of it, but just the match part. That part's gone now. Vert's not going to have a talking to because he believes Emile deserved it, whatever happened. If anything, he might be more on Magpie's side. Now, I'm not making the miss of the match that bad. He's not completely switching sides yet, but he could be swayed. You know, if Magpie finds out and is looking for allies, Vert could be one. Anyway, we need to do a few things. We're trying to put together a device here. We know that we need to repair this thing first because the like magnetic drive of it doesn't work right now. And I think there's no way you can put together an ad hoc device unless that is functional. So, quietly contemplating his mistakes, Emile is going to try and repair this thing. Now we don't have a workshop, but we are still a gearhead. And we're making a move to repair equipment or technology. So we get to add 1 and take 1 momentum on a hit. And that's what we are doing. This is a wits move. This has been a match-worthy session. This is down to just a double 2 match, but we did get a strong hit with a match. So you gain repair points as appropriate to the table. We are... God, we're somewhere between at a facility and in the field. I think we're functionally in the field because we don't have access to the workshop. You know, we're not anywhere that's that well set up to do repairs. We're just sitting on the floor. So it's a base of 3 points, which is all we need to repair any device. So, like, that alone is fine. Additionally, you may sacrifice resources in exchange. Like, we could use resources to get more points, but we don't need to. So, yeah, we have enough points to repair this thing. What is the relatively minor match that we get out of this? I think it's going to be... Like, yes, Emile did just lose a lot of face with Vert, but sometime during this process, let's have Firestarter be, like, going in and out and observing... he observes what Emile is doing and that he, like, gets it working. And it's just a quick moment. It's just a look between the two, but it's a look of like, admiration of, like, the tiniest little validation that Firestarter has of, like, he recognizes that's a hard thing that Emile is repairing, and it probably even took him a little while. Like, he's moving real slow and everything. Firestarter's been going in and out, and, like, over the course of this, seeing, like, all the work Emile is doing. Like, maybe Emile is even there for, like, hours and hours, or possibly even, like, over the course of, like, a couple of days. And he's just at it. He's not giving up on it. And so Firestarter... Yeah, we'll say that, like, he left when he was done working for the day, and he sees Emile there getting started and had an opinion of, like, huh, good luck with that. Like, you're not even just sitting on the floor. Like, you're never going to get that to work. It starts off with that opinion. And then he comes back the next day, and Emile is still working, and there's a little bit of a gain of, like, he's made some progress, but still, like, he's being a fool. And then at the end of the shift, he leaves again and sees when Emile has finished it successfully. Maybe it's a few shifts, but, like, that's kind of the trajectory. He sees Emile's progress and recognizes, like, the guy knows what he's doing. And so he's still not, like, the deal is the deal. He's not going to allow Emile into the workshop. But he's starting to feel like Emile could be an asset to the workshop anyway. Like, he could well help him repair various of the things that are, like, he could use an assistant, is kind of his opinion on that. And Emile could be one. So he lost a lot of face with Vert, but he's starting to gain some with Firestarter. Again, I wouldn't say Firestarter trusts him exactly, but he does have a kind of, like, game-recognized game sort of position now, and sees Emile's value. It was only a double 2, so there's only so far I'm willing to take that. So Emile gets this thing fixed, and let's continue on. And there's one more thing I want to do before I'm willing to give myself the full-on milestone. Like, we need to finish making this the actual device it needs to be in order to stabilize in order to be able to get the other crystal in the right kind of stabilization. We need to use our scavenger ability to cobble together an ad hoc tool, device, or weapon. Our old classic. I kind of wish that we had... There's an additional ability on Gearhead that I have not purchased, which is kind of similar. It's with sufficient time, a couple hours or more, you may secure an advantage to assemble or enhance a device for a powerful but limited roll. On a hit, the device is ready for use. One time only. When you or an ally make a move aided by the device, take an automatic strong hit. If you are in a fight, also mark progress. That's one I may get down the line. I don't have it now. It would be really useful now. But instead, we're doing this ad hoc. So we're going to secure an advantage to cobble together something more ad hoc. You know, we're going to slightly tweak the magnetic lift kind of part of this, which is now at least working, to be able to take inputs from a computer. Now, it couldn't be our computer because it's not working right now, but you could hook this up to a device that could make the right kind of micro adjustments to the magnetic fields, and, like, where we can separate it so it comes from, like, a couple different angles. We can, like, do some various things to make this the stabilizing device we need it to be. Or I guess it's not directly stabilizing, but the thing that makes a chaos crystal in the right sort of sci-fi polarity weirdness or whatever it needs to be in order to nullify a different chaos crystal. All the stuff we talked about last time. So let's secure that advantage. We get to add +1. Oh, it occurred to me, we were technically repairing in the field, so I should have had an additional +1 on that repair move, but it doesn't matter. It was a strong hit with a match regardless. It made no difference. All right, so let's secure that advantage with wits. See if we can make this ad hoc thing. I always wonder whether or not I should be allowing myself to get my gearhead, because I am technically crafting technology, so should I be getting the +1 on this? And I think I'm still... Oh, that reminds me. I do need to get my 1 momentum from having gotten a hit on the... when I did the fixing thing. So I've done that now. But like, should I be getting that same benefit on this? Or is this too ad hoc to really count? In the past, I have not given it to myself, and so for consistency, I'm going to keep not giving it to myself, because I think it's just... I feel like it should be you get one or the other. That should only apply for when we're doing some like much more official kind of work. But anyway, secure an advantage with wits. Here's what we get. Alright, and it's a strong hit anyway. Despite the challenge dice kind of trying to knock me down, but we succeed, take 2 momentum, add +1 on our next move. So we're back up to the bare minimum of 2 momentum. We're back to our refresh value. But we have this device now. So it's set up. In theory, a computer could control it with these kind of very fast timing micro adjustments, but we need a working computer in order to do it. We have a proof of concept here. And, okay, in order to keep the fiction right, I'm going to say, you know, this is another time where he sees Firestarter. And Firestarter has a little bit more of an opinion of him now, a little bit better of one. And the reason why we have a +1 on our next move is he is impressed with this, like, he didn't fully see what Emile was going to be doing with it, and he's like, he's curious about, like, what exactly are you making? And so it starts up a conversation, like,
we've been working on that for a few days there. What is that?
And Emile says, well, this is what's going to allow me to make good on our deal. I'm going to go fetch a chaos crystal. It's outside, and, well, I can't just use my hands, can I?
Doesn't look like any kind of stabilizer I've seen. Good luck out there.
No. Doesn't work on the classic principles.
What do you mean?
And Emile gives like the scientific breakdown of how like a usual one goes. Your usual stabilization field works off of X, Y principle, whatever thing. But this is based on some different research that I read. Have you seen the paper by? Let's generate a name real quickly. Character name. Let's get a last name for this scientist. Sterling. Okay. Have you read the paper by Dr. Sterling?
Enlighten me.
Well, the research says that there are ways to make sure that one chaos crystal up against another one, if they're in the right parameters, they might just nullify each other. And this is the thing that's going to make it the right parameters. He does a quick little demonstration, like shows it in work, and like he goes, well, assuming of course I can get a computer to actually get the timings right, and he shows his computer and how it's busted right now. That's not going to suffice. Look, I know you're not exactly a fan of mine, but in the name of getting this all worked out and doing our deal, hoping maybe you'd be able to lend me a process. Like he named some kind of like bare bones processor that would just be able to send signals out on a couple of lines to connect to this. Like something, it doesn't have to be a full-on comm link, but kind of like a microcontroller type of thing that Firestarter might have back in the workshop. And so this is going to be a compel move. And Emile has intrigued him enough that he might be willing to. We get a +1 on this. So let's see. Compelling heart with a +1. Is Firestarter willing to loan him this computer in order to just see this through? Like, is his curiosity enough that he wants to see this work? All right, it's a weak hit. And that +1 was the difference. Otherwise, it would have been a miss. So do what you want, agree to your conditions, but their agreement comes with a demand or complication. So the counter offer. The first counter offer I thought of would be honestly more like a strong hit, which was like, nah, I'm not going to loan you it. I'll come with you. Like that would make it even better. And I don't think it should be more of a challenge than that, which is, oh, well, okay, this could be interesting. We'd sort of pit Emile's beliefs against each other in a way, which is he agrees, but Firestarter puts together, he's like, well, wait a minute. 2 chaos crystals. What do you mean by that? It's 1 now, but the research in it. As long as we split it into 2 pieces, it should still work.
Well, then, by all accounts, that second piece would be part of what you owe me as well. So I'll get you the computer, but I assume that everything's going to be handed over to me. Like, maybe it's not that he, like, gets the feeling that Emile's going to screw him over on that, but, like, he sets expectations enough that, like, the way he dictates it ensures, like, you know, you give it to me and then you hand it back when it's all contained and all. Oh, yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe that's how it works. He'll get the counter offer is that he'll give Emile the computer for the purpose of doing this, but then, of course, because it'll have to be stabilized, he wants to have this device when it's all done. Like, hand the crystal over in this device so that it remains stable, and he can do his own kind of taking a look at it. You know, because he'd have to transfer it out of this device and then back into a thing specifically designed to harness that energy and turn it into food. So he would need to be stable while he's then doing his own part of the project and all of that. So he needs Emile to leave all of this stuff behind, including both parts of the Chaos Crystal, so that they stay nullified while he's doing that. And so as a result of that, Emile recognizes it's going to be really hard for him to make off with his own individual Chaos Crystal. And we have a vow about that. Now, because he has all the components of this now, and he would just have to, like, I don't think it's worth, like, he'd be able to assemble this. That's fine. I think as long as he has the part, I can wrap it all up in the same device roll. I'm not going to make him roll again for it. So I'm going to give myself the milestone. The big question in the air is, of course, how is Emile going to not just give up his vow to have his own contained Chaos Crystal? Now, I guess it could be that he'd just have to find yet another one. But we'll see. That's going to be a wrinkle on this. So Emile gets his thing set up. It's controlled now. He tests it out. It's working. I am going to still make him do he's going to make the computer program to do that very specific complex function, which is to take the right kind of, like, using the guidance of the research paper that he read, it's going to read the like environment and do the appropriate controls that, like, shift over time to make sure that the one crystal should stabilize the other. It involves, because it has to imitate laboratory conditions, it is very complicated in order to do that and adjust on the fly to, like, environmental conditions to, like, account for wind and pressure changes and stuff. Like, it has to be able to do all of that, and we're going to do that. So I think that is another secure advantage. It's going to be another wits thing, but we get to add +2 because of the aspect of tech that we're making use of here. So wits with a +2, and we would get +1 momentum on a hit. So here we go. Okay, it's a strong hit. Very close to a double 6 match, but it was a 6 and a 5. All right, so we succeed. We take 2 momentum from the strong hit, 1 momentum from the tech thing that we're benefiting from. We get a +1 on our next move, and when we trigger this program to fulfill its purpose, we get to re-roll any dice. All right, so now at this point, Emile has all the components necessary. He needs to do the hard work, though, which is actually get out to those Chaos Crystals and stabilize them, things like that. Okay, is he going to get some help out in the field again? I think especially with his broken ribs, he could really benefit from it, but he knows that Cypher was not willing to get that close up to a Chaos Crystal. I think he knows better than to ask her. I think even if he did, it would just be like an automatic no. Like, she was willing to help him out the first time, but knowing the details of what he's trying to pull off now, that's too dangerous. If it's out there and covered, good. She wants nothing to do with it. So I think Fern's the only one who'd be willing to help, which means I think we should set this up so that Fern is as most able to help him as possible. Like, can we find, like, a bucket or something that Fern could be controlling magnetically to just, if need be, shield Emile at the last second? Things like that. Like, there's only so much Fern could really do. And Fern is certainly not willing to just, like, absorb the Chaos Crystal. It's not going to be anything like that. Now, you know what? I kind of just want to get on with it. I don't think Fern is even going to... I don't think they're going to prep Fern in any way. Fern will be there in case... If failing anything else, maybe could suck Emile out. Like, magnetism could still help, even without a particular, like, we find a metal bucket or anything like that. The two of them are going to go out there. And Emile needs to find the spot. Now, he did
we talked about how he marked out, like, just in case, finding a danger spot here. He put a marker. We're going to see, can he, is all of that working? Is he able to just find the exact spot? I'm just going to ask the Oracle about that. Because we talked about how some of that stuff shifts around, and we've had the influence of the Chaos Crystal and everything. There are a few fate things that I want to ask here. Oh, you know what? Before I even ask that, the situation might have changed quite a bit. Because we know that it was growing when we last looked at it during the vignette. Let's find out how much has it grown in this time. Because the size of it will dictate how much it can influence. So I'm going to go down a scale here and say that it is almost certain that it has doubled in size. So has it? Yes. Oh, and that I rolled a 4. That would have been a yes, even on small chance, interestingly enough. It is likely that it's now the size of before it started off the size of like a quarter, something like that. I think it's likely it's grown to the point where it's the size of like a fist. And it has. I think there's a 50-50 chance that it is now the size of like a human head. Is it? No. Okay, so it's somewhere between a fist and a head. But it's grown quite a bit and can have a much greater influence. Importantly, it is not so big that it's like, a pillar jutting out of the ground. Like, it's still buried is one of the things I wanted to determine with that. And so the other question I want to ask the Oracle is just the things that Emile set up to be able to find it. Can he find just the right spot right away? Like, this is where the Chaos Crystal is. He set this up, so I'm going to say it's likely. I don't think it's worthy of a roll, but the Oracle says, can we find it? Yeah. Again, that was low enough that even on small chance, we actually would have gotten that. We've had some real results that are like quite a ways on the end of the spectrum. So anyway, he finds the spot. He knows it's there. The marker is still there. All the detection that he can find suggests this is it. Now he knows that he needs to not only get down to it, but split this into a couple of pieces that he can then hopefully quickly manipulate to be stabilized against each other and then get out of here. All right, knowing how dangerous this is, I think I've got a little bit of a multi-step process in my head of how we might go about this. First, I think Emile is going to try and secure an advantage here, and what that is specifically is, I think because the Chaos Crystal is so much bigger now, again, it used to be about the size of a quarter. Now it's bigger than the size of a fist. Like maybe about the size of like 2 fists put together. Like we're at the size of like a heart. And that inherently is having a lot more influence on the environment. I feel like even when it's not specifically changing things, there's just sort of a kind of like radiation off it that's a lot easier to detect. Last time we were out here, it was way harder to find. But maybe as Emile gets closer now, and he has this device with a microprocessor that's reading cues from the environment to make a lot of adjustments in order to properly imitate lab conditions when it's trying to stabilize pieces. It clearly has an awareness of the environment and can take these sorts of readings. And maybe that is enough to start, like, he's going to try and zero in on where is this thing. Like, he can't see it, but it's radiating enough of an influence on the environment that it can be picked up. And he's going to try and secure an advantage to use that to triangulate where's its likely location, but without uncovering it. So this is going to be a wits roll. And this is not specifically what the gadget that I made is designed for. I am not going to get the benefit on this. Like, I could, in theory, add +1 when making a move aided by this item, and I am technically doing that. But I think it's enough outside of specifically what the item was designed to do that I'm going to forego that +1. When I'm actually doing it to try and stabilize the thing, that's when it'll work. But it's just giving me the narrative justification to be able to, since Emile's computer is broken. So anyhow, our wits roll gives us... Okay, this is a miss. So you fail or your assumptions betray you. Now the plan I had was I was going to try and use that location data to allow Fern to... We're going to try and, with Fern's magnetic influence, like, shoot the shovel that Emile would have to, like, dig things up shoot it down fast enough to just all at once cut through the ash and crack the crystal in two. But because this was a miss, I'm not going to be able to do that. But also, I need to be able to pay the price somehow. And I want it to be more than just that I can't do that. I want it to be a little bit harder on me than that. I could certainly do a momentum loss easily enough. But I like the idea that my assumption was that it was still sufficiently small. And the fact that it's this big of an influence, and we've seen this crystal have some kind of awareness of its environment, maybe that means that in the same way, I think of how it makes me think of how when you get down to the quantum level, just trying to take a measurement has an influence on what you're going to observe. In a not the same way, but it made me think of it. I wonder if maybe the crystal, it's not sentient. I've given these ideas like it's aware of the environment. I think that it makes these reactions in the same way like a plant does, which, some people might argue that plants are sentient. I'm not one of them, but, the plant is going to grow in the direction of the strongest light. And the crystal is doing similar kinds of things that they're natural processes that aren't done by thinking. But when it's this large and it detects that it's being measured, I think that triggers it into making a new effect on the environment. So like it's going to stop it's not growing anymore. It's going to do something else. So pay the price, I think, in a wide area influence that may well even reach Emile, we are going to roll, and it's no longer just the ash right next to it that it's changing. It's going to change like a little bit of a zone. And I'm going to roll a descriptor and focus here. Undiscovered signal. Oh, that's interesting because Emile, it detects, in a way, it detected a signal from Emile's device. What if it tries to imitate that in a way? It sends out its own kind of signal. Okay, I've got an idea on this. It's going to tie a few things all together. Because we know the Chaos Crystal works by accessing possibilities from different realities, like all the different versions of what matter and energy could be across different realities. It solidifies that and brings them into this world. Well, you know what that makes me think of? We have a certain wooden heart whose agenda is all about bringing something in from a different reality, in its case, an entirely different planet. And it makes me think these things are related, that the wooden heart's method of having crossed realities, it sent all of its ships off in different directions looking for materials that would help it do that. It sounds like the materials it would be looking for would be chaos crystals of a certain size. And if we have one here that is naturally trying to grow bigger and bigger, I think what this means is that when the chaos crystal detects that it's being measured, it kind of reflects and sends that out in this pulse that blasts up into the sky like this big beam of light. This erratic, crackly kind of beam that cones outwards and gets bigger and bigger, just like a... Because apparently this is the session where I just want to do sound effects. And as we zoom across to an entirely different sector, where the people of Anubis have been sending ships out in all these different directions to pick up on signs of these chaos crystals that could be used for their agenda, this signal is going to be discovered. We see over on Anubis the influence of Zoya having gotten this information, sending a fleet of ships that start going this direction. They know where the signal is coming from. Scout ships are coming to validate with the backup of a vessel that is more kitted out for storage and containment. And I'm going to tick up the Wooden Heart's clock, because this crystal is exactly what they're looking for. And what exactly the clash between the people of Concord and the people of Anubis is going to look like? Well, I don't know if that's a question for next time, but it's certainly a question for the future. And the future starts next time. Well, just when you think something is about to go one way, the game sure does take it in another one. Those double 10 complications, man. I really thought, with what happened earlier in the session, okay, this is the time where Vert and Emile's relationship this is the episode where it really takes a turn for the better. And then, no. That false confidence, this is where it takes a turn. We lose all of that progress, and it gets way worse. I felt so bad in that moment, but it just seemed like the appropriate thing for that to represent is just Emile taking quite a sucker punch. Now, as for the prompts this week, it's not going to be related to that. Instead, it's going to be related to the research paper. I thought it would be interesting if this week we go for you telling me about the content of a research paper. Again, it doesn't have to be in my world, it could be in yours, but in some kind of, doesn't even have to be sci-fi, I suppose, but a scientist is doing research about something, and it's going to be using the action and theme of reveal and tool. So tell me, what are they researching with reveal and tool? Obviously, you don't have to write a research paper of your own, but just broadly speaking, what are they trying to find out, or what have they found out that they weren't planning on? What is the progress of science in this world of your imagination? Send me your ideas at starforgepod@gmail.com. I'm eager to hear them. I just like looking at the world through all kinds of little wrinkles like this, and so I hope you'll help me out, and with that, play me out, music.